Okay, we are now live, councillors. So the chair is struggling to join the meeting. A colleague is on the line trying to assist him in, and the vice chair sent his apologies. So the first order of business will be to appoint a chair for the duration of this meeting until the chair can join. Can I have a nomination, please?
I propose Councillor, sorry, Ali.
Sorry, I'll just propose Councillor Sultan Ali.
I'll second that.
No other proposals? In which case, I'll hand over to Councillor Sultan Ali as the chair at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Good evening. Welcome to the meeting of the Audit Committee. Michael, first of all, could we have any apologies, please?
The chair is struggling to get in, so I'll table his apologies, and Councillor Rashid has submitted his apologies as well.
Any other apologies?
Not that I've received, Chair, now.
Okay, thank you very much. Any declarations of interest, members?
No.
No.
No, thank you.
No. Thank you very much. Michael, any urgent items of business?
No, there are no urgent items this evening.
I've certainly not got any. Okay, minutes. Minutes of the meeting of the Audit and Governance Committee held on the 22nd of December 2020.
I approve them.
Approved. Agreed, everyone?
Yeah.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
Thank you. We'll get that sorted. And next is item number 5, annual audit letter.
Thank you, Chair. I'll take that, if I may, on behalf of Mazars. So the annual audit letter is the final report that we present in respect of the 2019-20 financial year audit. It forms a part of the wider accountability agenda, and it appears on the council's website as a summary document that kind of sets out for residents and businesses in Rochdale what the council's auditor thought of the council's position during the course of the year. It actually summarises the work that we've done and which we have previously reported to you. The only thing that's in here that is new is that you might recall the previous meeting that we said that the council's whole of government accounts return was still outstanding. That's now completed and was submitted on the 16th of February. So the 1920 audit is now formally closed, as all of our work that we are required to do is complete. I wasn't proposing to take this report on a page-by-page basis because of the fact that you have seen the information before. It's largely a mirror of what was in our audit completion report. But I do need to draw your attention to page 18, which sets out audit fees, because you will see we have agreed some additional fees with the council. We are waiting now for PSAA to approve those fees. The additional fee reflects the extra work that's now required because of changes to the regulatory expectations, if you like, around what work audit firms need to do in order to deliver a quality audit, and also some changes around the scope of the audit. All of those issues have been referenced in the Redmond report, which we have talked about previously in this committee too. So I wasn't planning to say any more than we are awaiting PSAA's approval of those fees now, and I'm we're just literally just waiting for them to come back to us so that we can then raise the invoice. But there are no other matters for me to draw to your attention. I'm happy to take any questions on the report.
Thank you. Members, any questions, comments?
Not on that. Not on this report, Chair.
Chair, Councillor Martin.
Mine's a comment, really. I think that thanks for the annual audit, but I do think that and maybe there's nothing you can do, that when you've been on audit for quite some time, you know what's coming up all the time in the report, and is just wondering, it's like watching paint dry. No, that's not a negative thing, because I have commented on how really good the reports are. It's just the same, isn't it? Is there any way we can even do anything, or is it because it's got to be so consistent across not just our authority but other authorities?
Yeah, I mean,
Sorry.
the audit is driven really by the risk assessment around what assurance we need in order to give an opinion on your financial accounts. And unfortunately, that is largely the same in every local authority. There will be some things that vary each year. So some people will have big PFI schemes that perhaps are new or just coming on stream, and we do extra work on that. You know, there are things that come up as technical issues occasionally that we do focus our work on, but on the whole, the process is I suppose it is largely a repetitive one. We tell you what the risks are at the start of the audit, and we tell you what we've done about it at the end, and then this just pulls everything together in one place.
No, thanks. I think the introduction in the summary, yeah, is really positive anyway.
Yeah, I'm of a similar opinion, Donna. Perhaps people don't find these reports sexy enough, and you know, it is a legal process that the auditors are following. So thank you for that. And anybody else want to make a comment or point or anything?
No.
No.
Nope.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Item number 6, Audit Strategy Memorandum.
Thank you, Chair. I'll take this one again, and apologies for the fact that it isn't the sexiest of reports, I'm afraid, but that's my life in audit, so there we go. You will see that this is actually the first report that we present for the 2021 financial year, which, although it's coming to a close from your perspective, is really only just beginning from my perspective as the auditor. You will see on page 28 that there is a change to the audit team this year, because you will recall that Daniel Watson was the manager responsible for the audit. He's now being replaced by Amelia, who is also on the call. So if you've got any questions in detail, I'll fire them over to Amelia in due course. This audit strategy memorandum sets out the risks that we've identified in the work that we intend to do. So there is a bit of detail in there about our audit approach and how it's risk-based and so on. What you will see at page 31 is the timetable, which is very similar to the one that you will have seen in previous years from us. The national timetable that MHCLG have set for this year, for financial year end March 21, is that you should have your accounts ready and available for inspection no later than the 31st of July, and we should complete our audit work on or before the 30th of September. In fact, your team are really keen to go with early audit process and early accounts, so they are working really hard now so that we can get the audit out of the way early. They're going to try to get accounts to us for audit before the end of May, and we will then conduct our audit and report back to you in July, or at least that's the plan at this stage. We all recognise, I think, that there are some challenges with working through the pandemic and the risks and uncertainties around getting people back to work. In terms of the detail that I am required to draw your attention to, you will see on page 32 some information about the use of experts. And that's where either you or we are relying on specialists and skills and other people, if you like, to support the audit approach. And that's there just for your information. And you will see on page 35 the significant risks that we've identified. Unfortunately, I have to say they don't vary much year on year. So you will see that the management override of controls is listed in there. That is a risk that we report to you every year, because it's the bit where management can directly influence the numbers that are in your financial statements, and therefore, if you like, manipulate or manage an outcome. There is nothing specific in Rochdale that means that that is a significant risk. It is simply that professional standards require us to identify and consider it everywhere. There is information in there about the 2 other risks that we report to you every year, which is around valuation of your pension fund assets and liabilities, which give you a very large net liability in your balance sheet every year. And then the 3rd one is around the valuation of your property, plant and equipment, which includes your investment property. There is, I am excited to report, a new risk in the plan this year, which is around the accounting treatment for Rochdale Riverside. We've identified that for a very specific reason this year, which is that it's the first time you'll be looking to account for it. And we want to be absolutely sure that the accounting treatment is correct this year, because it will then lay the foundation for future years. That's a risk that I would hope we will see disappear out of your planning future. So it's a case of get it right first time. Pages 36 to 39 set out the detailed work that we expect to need to do in response to those risks that we've assessed. And you will see in section 8 of the report, we have assessed materiality for the council to be £13.3 million. So that means that we are working to accounts that are right to that sort of level of tolerance. There is some information in here about your VFM risk assessment, but there are no specific risks identified for Rochdale at this stage. We are still working with the National Audit Office guidance and undertaking our initial documentation review to understand the council's arrangements in order that we can consider whether there are any areas that we need to undertake further work. I'm going to stop there really with the audit strategy memorandum, conscious that it will feel quite repetitive, but if there are any questions of detail about the work that we do, if I can't answer them, I'll hand over to Amelia, who will. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Members, any comments, any questions?
No, not from me.
No. Thank you. If everybody's happy, we'll move on and thank the author presenter. Item 7, internal audit Q3 report, please, 2021.
Hi, that's me. It's Sean Knowles. I'll give a brief summary of the report.
Sean.
Hi. Internal audit, well, we completed 64% of the revised audit plan, which was below target. The target was 74% for the end of Q3. We have pulled it back a little bit over the year. At the end of Q2, we were at 34%, so we managed to do another 30% of it in the third quarter. The main reasons being is two things. One, there's a significant amount of unplanned time was taken up early in the financial year with a couple of individual investigations that had to take place, and also we did a little bit of support, or quite a bit of support, I should say, for at the start of the pandemic as well. When I'm looking at the calculations, that does account for 10% of the time. So without those two, we would have been on track. There have been no limited assurance audits during Q3. However, I just thought it was right to raise that in this last Q4, and go into more detail in the next meeting. We have had one limited assurance audit in relation to the Rochdale Development Agency around in their control and supervision of industrial estates. There's no one key reason why it was made a limited assurance. It's mainly due to the number of recommendations that were made that I'll go into a lot more detail from next time as part of the audit review. The fraud team themselves then. No fraud interviews took place during Q3 due to the not having the availability to do so because of the pandemic and no room available. We have not got a COVID secure room, and interviews recommenced in February of this year, and I'll give a further update on that and the next audit update at the end of Q4. We have had 168 referrals in comparison to 213 for the same period last year, mainly from the National Fraud Initiative and PET and the RBC employees themselves, and we've managed to secure overpayments and savings of just over £30,000, which is 50% of what we managed to do last year. COVID-19 investigations, we've got 19 business grants that are investigations that are underway at the moment. We've got 75 business grant investigations that are underway at the moment, and around 40 test and trace. That's where we're looking into individual claims for test and trace payments. In collusion with the NFI, we've managed to secure £20,000 worth of overpayments. So overall, we're looking at around £50,000 worth of overpayments and savings. We're making good use of the cabinet tool Spotlight, and that enables us to do numerous checks in one go. So we've managed to put 44,000 details in it, and it'll do some checks for us and just give us the relevant information on the back of that. And that's more or less it, I believe. From there are a number. Sorry, I didn't mean to say that there were a number of deferrals from the original audit plan. and they were replaced by other audits. Main reasons for the deferrals being that the work that was carried out, the work that was going to be carried out as part of the audit was put back because of work that wasn't carried out because of COVID-19 last year. So we managed to swap those out and put some other audits to take their place, thereby being able to carry on being able to give relevant assurance to the leadership team and the authority. And that's the end of the report. Thank you.
Thank you very
Any
much.
questions?
I've got one. I've got one, Chair.
Go for it.
Thanks for that report, Sean. In relation to overpayments and fraud, there's been a lot in the media about obviously through the pandemic that there has been a lot of fraud. Are we on track and par with other authorities, or are we like best practice, or
We do really
how
well.
do we feel, sorry for interrupting. How are we in
It's okay, I did.
regards sort of a Greater Manchester parallel?
We do really well as in that department because we've got a designated fraud team that can look into it. So I haven't actually got the full figures for all the other authorities, but I can come back and I can let you know those. But the fraud team worked really hard and have always you know, prior to my time managed to, you know, do a really good job. They're really working hard now. They're desperate to get back out and do the face-to-face interviews and the home visits so that we can recoup even more. But they are working. They are working hard and doing their best to get what, you know, as much as we possibly can do back in the current circumstances. Sorry, it doesn't really answer your question, but I can find the info out for you.
No, actually, like basically having this designated fraud team is actually an investment for this council, isn't it?
Yes,
if it
very much so.
All right, that's great. Thank you.
But Sean, it would be interesting if you could please let all members on the audit committee have a sort of comparative study of Greater Manchester level. That'd be interesting.
Yep, I'll see what I can get together.
So thank you for
Chair,
that.
Chair, can
Thank
I've
you.
got a question, please, Chair.
Is there anybody else? Yes, sure.
I've got a question, Chair.
Yes, please, Councillor Ali.
Yeah, you know, when you said 75 businesses for COVID-19 business grants,
Yes.
you know, was it the business grants what government recommended council to give out, or when we first give them out, did we not look into it when the criteria meets or not meet?
The rules, the indication at the start of the pandemic from the government was to pay them so that businesses didn't suffer, and then do retrospective checks afterwards, and that's what we're doing now.
All right, so the government actually told us to pay them off without actually looking into in detail.
Yeah, the indicate get some very basic checks which were carried out, and then basically pay the money so that businesses didn't suffered as little as they possibly could do with not being able to open, and then afterwards carry out some more retrospective checks.
Just the last question. Sorry, are we gone? Am I gone?
No, I'm here.
Oh, sorry. I thought my camera went blank then. Just a minute. What about community centers and things like that, etc.? Have they actually claimed any grants over the time?
Not from my understanding from it, but we don't get involved. That they're paid out separately from the council, I believe, and not from business centres as such.
Because they do apply in council. As far as I understand, they are applying council for their grants.
Yes, they will do, but they won't fall under the remit from. They will come as council authority centres as such. So I haven't got any figures in relation to those, I'm afraid.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. It's yes, you're referring to the government business grants rather than anything else. So thank you for that, Sean. And I see Councillor Rashid has joined us. Councillor Rashid, do you wish to assume chairmanship?
Chair, Councillor Ali, we have Councillor Rashid and Councillor Malcolm who have joined us.
All right. Well, I'll take the back seat. So,
if I can just refer to the chair, Councillor Malcolm is just on his phone. I think for the benefit of the meeting, if you proceed in the chair, that would be helpful.
okay. That's fine. I'm okay with that.
I'm sorry, I think whoever's the chairing meeting should chair it because I'm not signing in from my council meeting. So I don't have any agenda in front of me now.
Right,
Because
no
I'm
problem, Councillor
signing in
Sheed.
from a private email.
May I ask a question, Chair?
You
Acting
may,
Chair.
sir. Yes, Councillor.
I noticed quite a lot of the deferred and cancelled audits and so on. And I know it might sound a very obvious question, but deferred after discussing with relevant management due to COVID-19. Could you just explain why COVID-19 has prevented some of these fairly high risks that not being able to be dealt with?
Yeah, certainly. The audit that was taking place was dependent on some work that was going to happen last year that didn't happen because of various issues. So we were going to be checking some of the activity that would have taken place in Q1 and Q2 last year, and in Q3 and Q4 of this year. And unfortunately, that work has been deferred, and so they've been put back until next year's plan.
Right. So has that automatically increased the risk level then?
Not really, because it's dependent on a lot of it is dependent on external factors. We have taken a view of it, and it shouldn't really have massively increased the risk on it. It was just checks to make sure that some of the work that was being carried out had taken place. So,
okay, thank you.
That's fine. Any other questions, comments?
No.
Don't dig too deep. Yeah, thank you. Right, so that's item 7 dealt with. Item 8, risk management progress report, Q3 2020-2021. Who's taking that? Is that you, Sean, or?
That's myself, Martin Nixon. I'm the risk manager.
All right, hi Martin.
Hi, okay. Right, just to take you through the highlights of the report. Obviously, I'll assume that everybody's read the report, and I'll try and give you the highlights. Starting with the corporate risk register at the top of the report. This is the risk register that's managed by the leadership team. A review of risk scores has been carried out prior to the meeting. There's been only a small number of changes. The corporate governance risk has been increased slightly. The reason behind this is that we've now got a new head of governance there, Azif Ibrahim, who's carrying out his own review of, identifying any. He's just really reviewing the processes. So that modest increase in score is just really to reflect the fact that he's going through that process, we're thinking that that could return back to its original level very shortly. The main increase in risk score on the leadership risk register is for children's safeguarding. Now, this is really just a reflection of how practices have developed under COVID, where we've got a lot of staff that are working from home now. So it's not necessarily any great increase in incidents. It's just the fact that we're using the risk register to reflect the fact that that is a risk, an increase in the level of risk there. We do have controls in place. So, for example, there's still a very high level of case audits. We do have a revised performance and quality assessment framework. So it's not for the lack of any, mitigation within the service. It's just really reflecting the conditions that the staff are working under. Okay, moving on to item 5.1. I'm now moving into the risk management for integrated health. What I normally do is just share with you the red risks within the CCG risk registers. So at the moment, we have red risks within COVID risks, and also the knock-on effect with waiting times in other health areas. So these are the risks that you'd expect to be highlighted as at red at this stage. Where previously in the last report we had a financial risk rated as red, that's now been reduced down to amber, because we the CCG have now got some more certainty on funding, and they are confident that they're going to reach their break-even target by the end of this financial year. Moving on to the council service risks, which is item 5.2. Again, we've got good news with a financial risk where previously where Children's Services, their financial risk was rated as red. That's now been reduced down to amber. And that again is because we've got certainty in funding, where we've got the 2021 budget now fully funded, and there is no projected overspend by the end of this financial year. Just to mirror what's happened with the corporate risk register, the Children's Services safeguarding risk has also gone to red within the service risk register. The way that we structure the risk registers, we have a leadership risk register, which is obviously managed by the leadership team, but also that same risk is managed within the service. So, different levels of the organisation have their own part to play in managing that risk, but it just mirrors, both the leadership risk register and the service risk register that's been escalated up to red. Moving on to the insurance team, one stat that's shared there under item 6 is that the number of claims received in quarter 3 was down to 95 in comparison to the same period last year. Now, I see that as a reflection of the fact that we're in lockdown conditions where there's not as much road users on the road, not as many highways claims as a result. So that's obviously a reflection of the changing environment that the insurance team are working under. And one highlight from this quarter, just prior to the new year, is that as well as managing the usual council programme, we put in place insurance cover for the refurb of Rochdale Town Hall. So where you would normally just have property cover for the town hall, we've also got specialist cover in place now for the actual construction project. That was no mean feat because it's quite a hardening insurance market at the moment, but I'm glad to say that the team successfully put that through, and that was all in place in time for the contract to start in January. So, any questions?
Thank you very much, Martin. Right, members?
So through you, Chair.
Yes.
Through you, Chair, for May. Just to say, I had lined up with Councillor Malcolm that we'd move this item down on the agenda, because obviously there is a linked item at item 11, which is private elements to this report. So if we take the anything that's flagged as in the public section of the report, we can revisit those private ones once we've ended the stream.
Right. So it should be well, Martin's done number 8. So should we leave the questions to after what you're suggesting?
No, I think we take the public anything that's in item 8, and any members have got any questions or comments in relation to those, then we take those now, Chair.
Okay, that's fine. Any questions, comments, members?
Yes, please, Chair, if I may. It's Jim Gartside.
Yes, Councillor Gartside. Yes. Go ahead.
It must be really difficult, these risks, Martin, under these conditions. But are things like adult services, for example, I mean, are they ever going to be less than a risk factor of 12, even under normal circumstances?
Good question. I mean, to be honest, a lot of the time, the risk score isn't just a reflection of the actions that are taking place in the background by the service. It's also the level of risk that's presented by in that particular service. So, for example, you know, where you've got a level of 12 for adults safeguarding, you know, it's always possibly going to be at roughly that level, because you know, it's a risk where, you know, there are so many factors involved, and this is not downplaying the professionalism of the service or the fact that they're doing everything in their control. It's just that you know, just the nature of the risk means that there's always the possibility of an incident or something that might happen, and that's just true of any local authority in the country. You know, you might find other risks where you know, there is potential to reduce that down to green. And you know, I know for a fact that we've had financial risks in the past where we've had more certainty. The fact that we've got the funding there, that we can bring that level down to green, because you've not got that same level of certainty. But again, it's not a reflection of the professionalism or the risk management efforts that are going on in the background. It's just the background level of risk, if that makes any sense.
Yes, that does. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Right, Michael. Now, do we take number 9 or do we do the exclusion of press and public?
If we take number 9, and then
Yeah.
we'll exclude the press and public and revisit any risk issues which are in the private section, Chair. Thank you.
That's fine. Okay, item number 9, local authority constitution, channel, excuse me, channel duty guidance 2020. Who's taking that?
Very much, Chair. It's a report for information of the committee of the monitoring officer, utilising my delegation in Part 3 of the Constitution, relating to approving amendments to the schemes of delegation to officers within the Constitution on matters arising from legislative and or operational changes. As I said, the report is there in its entirety, but pertains to Section 36 of the Counter-Terrorism and Security Act 2015, which requires the council to have a statutory requirement to have a designated named officer as the strategic safeguarding leave for prevent and channel within the council, and obviously ingrained within the Constitution. It was just timely that obviously the Audit and Governance Committee were meeting as I was utilising that delegation. So this is for information for the committee to be aware of the change that has been implemented under my delegation as monitoring officer.
Okay, thank you very much. Anybody got any comments or questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, then Michael will go into item 10.